All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the story of a tennis legend who was just as famous for his temper as he was for his trophies, Jimmy Connors. You have to wonder, was he a brilliant competitor or maybe just a brilliant showman? Let's get into it. So, right off the bat, you need to understand this was his whole brand. I mean, forget the wins for just a second. Connors built his entire identity as this brawler in tennis shorts. He was the guy who would chase down every single ball, argue every single call, and get right in your face after a winning point. He wasn't just playing tennis, he was waging war out there. We all know about the attitude, right? But what was the genius behind all that madness? What took him from being just another great player to a true legend who actually changed the game? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. Okay, first up, the man, the myth, the competitor. To really get Jimmy Connors, you have to imagine him in his natural habitat, the tennis court. Because that's where he forged his identity, one ferocious forehand at a time. And his rise was just meteoric. He turns pro in 72, and by 74, he's not just winning Wimbledon, he is demolishing the competition without dropping a single set. Think about that. That's not just talent, that's a statement. He was basically telling the entire world, I'm here, and I'm taking over. But look, attitude doesn't mean much if you don't have the achievements to back it up. So let's look at the numbers. Because behind all that noise, all that bluster, was a resume that puts him right in the conversation for the greatest of all time. Just let this number sink in for a minute. 268. That is how many weeks Connors was ranked #1 in the entire world. We're talking over 5 years of being the undisputed king of the court. In a sport this competitive, that's not just consistency, that's a reign. And then, of course, there are the majors, 8 Grand Slam singles titles. In the world of tennis, that's really the currency of greatness. And let's just say Connors was rich. And he was a total hometown hero. 5 of his 8 slams came at the US Open. The rowdy New York crowd absolutely loved his in-your-face style, and you could see him just feeding off that energy, turning Flushing Meadows into his own personal playground. But Connors' legacy, it isn't just about the numbers. It's really about how he changed the very DNA of the sport. He wasn't just another player, he was a revolutionary. Seriously, look at any pro tennis match today, and you are going to see his fingerprints all over it. That two-handed backhand that's so common now, well, Connors is the one who turned it from a kind of defensive, last-ditch shot into an absolutely lethal weapon. He basically wrote the book on modern baseline tennis. And you absolutely cannot talk about Connors without talking about his rivals. I mean, Borg, the Iceman, McEnroe, the Superbrad, Lendl, the iron-willed Czech. Their battles weren't just tennis matches. They were like soap operas with rackets, and trust me, the world could not get enough. So how does this tennis rebel eventually become an elder statesman of the sport? Well, his legacy isn't just about his peak, it's about his unbelievable staying power. This right here is what makes him a true immortal. In a sport that just breaks down bodies, Connors was still out there winning titles at 39 years old. That's not just being competitive, that is literally defying father time. And of course, he was never going to be one to just fade away quietly. He brought his totally unfiltered opinions straight to the commentary booth, and even tried his hand at coaching, passing on his brand of tennis as warfare to a whole new generation. So when you look back at the whole picture of Jimmy Connors' career, you're left with a really fascinating question. He was a rebel, a disruptor, a guy who broke all the rules, and he became one of the greatest of all time. So does that mean that to be a true legend, you have to be willing to burn it all down? That's something to think about.